We'll be going over IRS Form W-3, the transmittal of wage and tax statements. So this is the transmittal form that employers will use to submit Form W-2, copy A of Form W-2 to the Social Security Administration. So one misnomer is that most people think that the Form W-2 goes to the IRS. And in fact, it actually goes to the Social Security Administration. Here's the mailing address for paper forms. You can upload e-file versions of this, up to 50 forms at a time, to send to the Social Security Administration. So you can either do that through its business services online website, where you upload the Form W-2 online, or you can actually upload the files themselves to the Social Security Administration if you have files that are formatted according to the SSA guidelines. So, in this case, we're recording this video slightly after the deadline, January 31st in 2024. This is mid-February, but this is in response to a specific request that one of our viewers sent. So we'll walk through this form. There's nothing earth-shattering in this form. It's pretty straightforward. And to accompany this video, we actually have an article that goes through all of these fields in much more depth. So let's go ahead and start with the information on the left-hand side. So in box A, you'll enter a control number if there's one that applies to you. You should know what your control number is. In box B, we'll have the kind of payer. So these are different tax forms for nonprofits, military, probably the most common for people outside of just small businesses would be a household employee. So if you have to issue a Form W-2 to a household employee, then even if it's just one Form W-2, it still needs to be accompanied by a Form W-3 as well. So next to that, you'll put the type of employer, whether it's some sort of a 501, like a not-profit, federal government entity, a state or a local entity, or if none of those apply, you can just check none apply. And then third-party sick pay applies to situations in which you're reporting sick pay or sick pay being paid by a third party. That, in this case, and in the case of Acme Enterprises, this is not applicable, so we did not check that box. So we did put down that there are 25 total Form W-2s. The establishment number is a number, another number that you would recognize, and if you don't, we'll put more information in the show notes on what should be in here. So employer identification number, the employer's name, in this case Acme Enterprises, the address and zip code, and then if there was a different EIN used in the year, so if you took over a business and there was another EIN that was issuing pay statements, then you would enter that in here. Boxes basically 1 through 14, all of these numbered boxes are just aggregates. So the biggest concern really is making sure that if you're reporting 25 W-2s, that you actually have 25 W-2s and that they total up to $400,000. So all of this is pretty much premised on $400,000 of income, although for Social Security and Medicare purposes, these can be different. Most notably, Social Security wages may be capped at the earnings threshold. So, for example, in 2023, the threshold was, I believe, $160,000, and $300 or $400. So wages that were paid above that threshold would not be reported as Social Security wages. And then the Social Security tax withheld, 6.2% of the Social Security wages. With Medicare wages, there's no limit. So in this case, even if they exceeded the Social Security limit, they would be reported here. So it's not uncommon that you might see, the Social Security and Medicare wage information slightly different. And then in this case, the Medicare tax withheld is 1.45% of the wages. So we put that in here. If you had tip income, then you would report the tip income that was subject to Social Security here. Allocated tips are specifically defined by the Internal Revenue Code for large food and beverage businesses that have to allocate a certain amount of their total income as tips to their employees to kind of make sure that they get some base level of pay. Dependent care benefits, we entered this information here. Same with non-qualified plans, deferred compensation. All of that is just the aggregate of what is reported on the same numbered line of the Form W-2. So in this case, we did not use a third party for sick pay, so we don't have any of that. Otherwise, we would put information in boxes 13 and 14. And then boxes 15 through 19 are all state and local tax information. So being from the great state of Texas, there's no state income tax, and we'll assume that this fictional town, any town, does not have a local income tax. But you would enter a state ID if you had one, assigned to you by the state, and then you would put whatever income that was paid that's allocable to state income tax rules. So in this case, let's just assume that this would be the same as reported for federal taxes. And then if it was a 5% flat income tax, then that would be, and then let's just say that same wage income applies here, and there's a local income tax of 1%. So then you would just enter, the amount of taxes that were withheld. Again, the biggest issue really is making sure that everything lines up with your Form W-2s, which should be straightforward if you're using tax preparation software that will combine everything and calculate everything automatically for you. But if you're doing this by hand for some reason, then you may run into calculation errors, which forces this to get rejected. So at the bottom, you would enter the contact information for the person at the employer, just in case there's a question from the Social Security Administration. So once you're completed with that, you would sign it, title it, and date it. If you're sending paper copies, you would send the entire form with all of your Form W-2s to the SSA. If you're filing this electronically, you don't need to send a Form W-3. So you don't need to mail it, but you would follow the instructions here, where you would, at the strong suggestion of the federal government, file everything electronically, either by uploading the W-2s online or submitting all of your wage files to the Social Security Administration using your tax software. So again, there is a fine for every day that you go without sending your Forms W-2 either to your employees or to the federal government. And I believe it's a per return fine. So, if you're in a crunch, definitely make sure that your employees get their returns, and then you can follow up with the federal government. So if you need to file paper forms, you would send this entire page with all of your copy A's of your Forms W-2 to the Social Security Administration Direct Operations Center in Wilkes-Barre, Pennsylvania, 18769-001. If you're using certified mail, then the zip code is 18769-002. and then there's a separate address for private delivery service such as FedEx or UPS. You would add an attention line, W-2 process, 1150 East Mountain Drive, and then you would change the zip code to 18702-7997. So, and then Circular E, IRS Publication 15, has a list of IRS approved private delivery services. So that's all we have for this tax form. We'll put a link in the show notes to the article, which resides on our website. You can go to teachmepersonalfinance.com, type in IRS Form W-3, and you should see this form appear. We'll also put links in the show notes to articles and videos that we've produced that are relevant to this article, specifically Forms W-2 and W-2C in the case you need to correct any. So if you like our articles, please subscribe to our newsletter. And if you like our YouTube videos, please subscribe to our YouTube channel. And if you have any questions, comments, or if you have a topic in mind that you would like to see in an upcoming video, hit me up in the comments section. Thank you very much and have a great day.